Hi, and welcome to Your Inside Power. We help you to discover the tools and the items that you have inside of you to create the life of your dreams. My topic today is about the universal laws. And if you watched the last episode, is where we really started talking about these laws and why they are so important and why they impact your life. And what you need to realize is that these laws are operating in your life, whether you're aware of them or not. And so you are either benefiting from those laws or you are having them act as detrimental to your life. So I want you to benefit from laws because here's the one thing we know: we cannot change them. They operate just like, day goes to night, tide goes out, tide comes in, the seasons change. We can't change those laws. And you have to learn to operate with them. But if we're not aware of the various laws that there are in the universe, we can't help ourselves. So one thing I have to kind of impact is there has to be a belief that there's a higher power. If you look at the world and you look at everything on earth and you don't believe there's a higher power, I tend to think maybe you haven't thought about it. How could this have happened just on its own, without any thought behind it? And when we don't really believe in that higher power, I don't care what you call it, whether you call it God or not, that's what I choose to call it. But you may call it infinite intelligence, source energy, higher power, Buddha. Again, it doesn't matter to me what that is, but there has to be some type of belief there's something bigger than we are as a human being. And so that's what we're talking about, that higher power, whatever you call that. And when we can live closer to that power or that source energy, it's helpful to us. And that's how we start to become aware of what's going on around us, and we start to understand the truth. Have you ever wondered, what is the truth? Sometimes that's a difficult concept to think about, but we have to start to realize that there is something bigger than us, and we're just like a little speck along the way. And we have to start to see the truth. And that knowledge and that awareness will allow us to change our point of view. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about leadership, and it was on a podcast. And I said, part of leadership is being able to become aware of other people's point of views and not just thinking that we have the only way. And so often you see this, people think this is the only way to do something, or my thinking is the only thinking that's correct. And it's just not true. Your thinking is correct because of the experiences and the things that you know about you and your awareness of the world. But somebody else might have a completely different thought because of their experiences, their background, and their thought patterns too. So when you start to develop awareness and start to look for truth and get very close to source energy, you start to develop wisdom. And with that wisdom, hopefully, is part of looking at other points of view and seeing, what can I do? Or if I thought this way, what would I be thinking now? What would my point of view be in this situation? Well, maybe if I thought like this person, what would my thinking be? And what would my point of view be? And when you can get to that particular area in your life where you can look at situations and see those different points of view, you have gained a lot of awareness into the world. So here's a quote: "The wise man changes his mind, the fool never." It's always bothered me when I hear people talk about, generally it's a politician that has changed their mind and changed their thinking or changed what they feel about a situation, and they call them a flip-flopper. Well, sometimes it might be that, but hopefully at many times, and more of the times, it's because they have developed awareness and they have learned more and they have realized that that way of thinking previously was maybe very narrow and very limited. And I think for a person to think at the age of 60 the same way they thought at the age of 20 is a sad thing and a very foolish thing, because the world's changing. The world's changing all the time. So if the world's changing, don't we have to change with it? Don't we have to change our thinking? Isn't that what evolution is all about? Evolving to a different thought? And so we have to start looking at our ideas and in which things are not serving us well anymore. And which things can we change our perspective on? Now, that doesn't mean that we change maybe every fundamental or every idea you've had about yourself, but sometimes we have to evolve and start thinking differently. So remember that a wise man changes his mind, the fool never. You see, energy is constantly moving to and through us. And as that energy is moving through us, it's changing our thought patterns. I have this quote from, you've probably heard this before, from Henley. It says, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." We have the power to control our thinking. That is a power that has been gifted to us. And as far as we know, we're the only animals on the planet that really do control our thinking. We don't live by nature and by our senses, although some people do. Some people absolutely just live through their senses, and that's a very animalistic behavior. But we have been given this gift, and we've been given lots of different gifts inside of us to be able to change our thinking. That's what your inside power is all about. How can we use these gifts we have been given to absolutely change our thinking and change our awareness? So unfortunately, we do have many people that do not use that power. And why don't they use it? Well, for some, it's because they're not aware. They're not aware that they have the powers. Raymond Hollowell says, "Your thoughts make you, and your ideas, principles, or ruling desires will determine your destiny." Isn't that beautiful? Your thoughts make you. What are you thinking? What are your predominant thoughts? Are they thoughts of where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want your life to look like? Or are they negative thoughts that aren't going to help you at all and just going to keep pulling you down? It's a choice, because we have been given that choice and that opportunity to decide. But your ideas, your principles, your ruling desires will determine your destiny. You got to use those powers. Use the powers that you have inside of you. Our problems are all from up here. We think it's from something that happens in our lives, but our problems start with our thought patterns. They don't exist just in the outside world. They all start with our thinking, which is why you have to be able to control your thinking. Why do we do some of the things that we do? Have you ever thought about that? What causes us to behave the way that we do?